movie I'm going to talk about today is a very unique movie. It's a movie that combines the themes of a private detective story of the 1950s and as well as supernatural horror. Angel Heart. This movie I really love. I think this is one of my favorite horror movies from the 1980s. It just does everything so well. And it also is the first movie I saw that starred Mickey Rourke, who I think is he is one of the greats as far as acting is concerned. He didn't get as far as he should for many reasons. But this is during his heyday of the 80s when he was still the hottest star. And it was also during the time when he was still a hunk. It also stars Robert De Niro, who is more prominent on the cover than Mickey himself. When you just see that face with De Niro looking at you, I really like this DVD cover. It just looks so haunting. And De Niro's expression on the cover, it's almost like he's staring into your soul. Anyway, Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro star in this. Well, more Mickey Rourke. Robert De Niro's role is more of a extended cameo, but his scenes are magnificent. And it also stars Lisa Bonet, who people who like 80s TV will probably know from The Cosby Show. And I heard that her role in Angel Heart got her on Bill Cosby's shit list back when being in low opinion of Bill Cosby still mattered. But yeah, and let's get to the story. The plot of this movie is that Mickey Rourke is a private dick in the 1950s named Harold Angel, who is hired by a mysterious client named Louis Cyphre, played by Robert De Niro, to find a missing person named Johnny Favorite. And as he investigates and tries to find this mysterious man, many bizarre things happen over the course of time. The movie shifts in a way from detective thriller to supernatural horror. And the transitions in these stories just go pretty well. The whole thing has a great flow to it. There are a few times where the movie feels like it's one scene after another. Like it has a weird flow to it that isn't fully comfortable, but given this movie's theme and everything it has in it, maybe that's a good thing. And yeah, the story is very gripping and the movie is legitimately scary. This movie is actually scary from the very first minute. There's no studio logo when you play the DVD. It just gets right into the credits and it has this great, amazing music score. I think a good theme to the things that make a horror movie great is the things you don't expect coming out of nowhere, as well as the music. Scary music can do a lot for a movie. It can put you on the edge of your seat. You can have the action going on with characters in peril or something grisly happening, but usually it's not as effective unless you have a chilling score that just sends shivers down your spine. And Angel Heart definitely has that shit. The opening credits are just of a dark alley at night, but the music, which is a saxophone-themed score, the whole movie has a lot of jazz-type scoring to it, and the opening credits are amazing. They aren't really connected to the story, but they set the mood. And then Mickey Rourke comes in as the main character of this film, Harry Angel. And this movie takes place in the 1950s. And as far as making movies in a certain decade and having them take place many decades before, I really find believable that this movie takes place in the 1950s. I can't verify everything because I wasn't alive in the 50s. My mom wasn't alive in the 50s. But the look and the way people move and talk, it all seems very accurate. And obviously, movies in the 50s didn't show it, but yeah, people swore like fucking sailors back then. And the level of profanity is good, like, a lot of characters swear, but not overdoing it. Like, it's nowhere near Quentin Tarantino levels, but the swearing is in a pretty good place, and Mickey Rourke comes in wearing a trench coat of sorts, and he's chewing and blowing bubble gum, and right after he blows a bubble, he just holds up a cigarette and puts it in his mouth and just smokes. And I watched Angel Heart with a few friends a few years ago, and me and my friends have, and me and my friends at the time, we smoke, and we've been smokers for most of our adult lives, and watching Angel Heart and the portrayal of the 1950s, and the same can be said for movies that were actually made in the 1950s. My friend said, smoking looked so cool back then. And he's right, and the scene itself, with Mickey Rourke walking down the street smoking a cigarette, it's not really all that glorious looking or glamorized. He's just holding a cig and like this, and he isn't doing much. He's just holding it there, letting the smoke come out and letting it just flow out of his mouth, sometimes out of his nose. But yeah, it looks cool. He's just walking in it like this and down the street like every person would, and there's something about the style of the 50s, the clothes, the atmosphere, the scenery. Just looks pretty cool. And as for the character that he plays, Harry Angel, I think Mickey Rourke is a fantastic actor, and this character is very complex. Harry Angel he's not a genius, but he's smart enough to know where the limit is at sneaking around and getting what he needs to know. I think Mickey Rourke played this part fantastically. The character of Harry Angel in Angel Heart, the best way to describe him is that he's kind of a sleazy man in a way. Like, he's not a horrible person. He's not. He doesn't. I'd say. He does whatever he can to find out what he's been hired to find out, and he doesn't really care much about what he does or the people he encounters. Like, you get the feeling he's doing this job because he's good enough at it, but at the same time, he's just in it for the money. He doesn't care about anybody but himself, and he does a few petty crimes to find out what he's after, and he doesn't really care, and he's smart enough to work around not getting caught, and you get the feeling he's the kind of guy that he's not easy to disturb. Like, he comes across many disturbing aspects as this film goes on. And a lot of them are what would traumatize someone who is not used to seeing grisly things or disturbing things. When he encounters these horrifying things and events, he does appear shocked, but it doesn't last with him. It just makes him worried about getting caught. Get the impression like he just goes through life not caring, just going with what he has and what will help him keep a living. He's a sleazebag, but a cool sleazebag. And Mickey Rourke has a huge range of emotions in this movie. For example, he has to play it cool in some scenes. He has to play it angry. He has to be he has to be scared. And there is a powerful scene in Angel Heart where Mickey Rourke just breaks down crying. I'm not going to tell you what or why, but when it happens, you will know it, and believe me, it is one of the best crying scenes I've ever seen done by an actor. Not so much in the drama department, but the way he cries, it just feels so real, because I've cried, and sometimes it's looked and sounded just like that. I mean, Mickey Rourke has amazing range as an actor, and when it comes to, and people have said this, people who critics and acting teachers, Mickey Rourke can just deliver his lines and let them flow just right through the scene smoothly. He can make the emotions work. He can make the way he says it sound natural. And he really can. And people who like older movies probably know him from movies such as Diner and 9.5 Weeks and hopefully Rumblefish. And audiences today, like younger audiences, maybe in the teenage crowd or around my age, they probably know him from films like Sin City, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and The Wrestler. He played the character Marv in Sin City, and in The Wrestler, he was the title character. He got the Oscar nomination, and it was well deserved. I just think Mickey Rourke is great, and because of all the, he's had a very controversial life, just not been very popular, and people think he's kind of an asshole. And he took up a career as a boxer at one point, and over the years he's gotten many plastic surgeries around his face. Sometimes he claims it's because of all the issues he had with boxing, and the surgeries did not go that well. But I really don't know, and today he looks pretty horrible, and it's a little sad watching Angel Heart, because I can see he used to be such a beautiful man. He's just near perfect in looking good in his good looks. He has a pompadour, and he pulls it off so well. And there's a scene where he is completely shirtless in a towel, and you see his body, and he has just the right muscle tone and look. He's just breathtaking to look at. And now, but he's still a great actor. I don't care if his face looks like a raw steak these days. he still is amazing. Just, he used to be a hunk, and now he's kind of a chump in the looks department. But, and here is a joke. In Sin City, if for those who know the film Sin City, with him as the character Marv, the character Marv is often considered ugly by the characters of the Sin City universe. But when you see Mickey Rourke in real life today, like this year, he actually looks better as Marv. And as for the rest of the cast of Angel Heart, aside from Mickey Rourke, who I've just gone on about as being just incredible in this movie, because he just carries this film so well. He plays such a complex, great character. He nails everything well, and this is one of his greatest performances. I would put it on par. Mickey Rourke's performance in Angel Heart is on par with his Oscar-nominated performance in The Wrestler. And I think this is just one of his most amazing roles. But I'm not going to forget the other stars in this movie. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, well, today people are either tired of him or they don't think he's that serious anymore, or some people think he's overrated. I don't feel any of that. Yes, he has done some stupid movies in the past 10 years, but he has done some amazing movies. He is a great actor as well. Robert De Niro has given some of the best performances ever. And in Angel Heart, he plays one of the genuinely scariest roles I think you will ever see. He is just very intimidating in this movie. And his screen time is limited. Like, Robert De Niro has pretty much only 4 scenes in this film, but he carries every one of them, but he steals the whole show with every scene he has, no matter how brief. His character, the guy who hired Harry Angel to find this person he wants found, is very mysterious. Like, the look he has and the way he delivers his lines, it's pretty chilling. Like, you wonder, what's this guy's story the first time you see it? And Alan Parker, the director, said that De Niro's performance was unnerving enough that he would leave the set, or he'd just avoid him, and he pretty much let De Niro direct his own scenes, or just do it on his own. Like, that's how freaky it was for him. And if you notice, Robert De Niro has a beard for his character. Apparently his look in this movie is an impersonation of Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro's good friend and frequent collaborator on movies. And you probably know, people today probably know Martin Scorsese as a short, balding, white-haired old man with glasses. But back in the 80s and early 90s, Martin Scorsese actually had a very thick, dark beard, and his hair was kind of like the hair De Niro. De Niro's hair, I don't think Scorsese ever had De Niro's hair in Angel Heart. Like, De Niro in Angel Heart, he has like a hair that looks like it's longer than mine. Yeah, like it just drapes all over, but most of the film it's tied up in a bun in the back. And yeah, De Niro's look is an entirely different thing in this movie. He has this huge, thick beard, this very long, pretty smooth hair, and he has fingernails that are probably an inch long, and he just brings a lot of unnervingness, as Alan Parker probably would say, to this performance. I think it's a great performance, and I will get into a few other things later related to that. And Lisa Bonet, she's the female lead in this film, and she played one of Bill Cosby's daughters on The Cosby Show. And this film was pretty controversial for her because, well, yeah, like she's starring on the biggest family show in America at the time, and then I think she left after this. She just stars in this movie. That is, Angel Heart is full of many things. Like, it's violent, there's graphic sex and gore, and the subject matter is stuff that probably would turn a lot of people off. But she does an okay job. Like, her role is not that huge. She's a supporting character, no denying that, but she does okay in her scenes. Like, she's attractive enough, I guess. An interesting thing I noticed when watching her in this movie, like, she wears like sleeveless shirts, and she has a few moments of nudity in Angel Heart. Her pits are unshaved, and no shame in that. Just, I think it's interesting because you don't see that often with women and characters in movies, and interesting to see for once. Yeah, like, this film is more real to its characters than you'd see in other movies. There isn't a whole lot to say about the rest of the cast. Like, the only two people I feel that are worth mentioning after that are Dan Florek, who people today, like TV lovers, will know as Captain Donald Cragen on Law and Order Special Victims Unit. At least when he was still on, but Dan Florek, he has a very early acting appearance in Angel Heart, at least for people who would probably recognize him. And his role's brief. Like, he plays a lawyer who introduces Mickey Rourke to Robert De Niro in this movie. And it's brief, but noticeable. Like, you're like, hey, it's the captain from Law and Order SVU. And Kathleen Wilhoit, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She has a very brief role in Angel Heart, and you may remember I talked about her in my very first video. She was the foul-mouthed but lovable bitch female lead in the Charles Bronson movie Murphy's Law, my favorite Charles Bronson film of all time. And she has a very brief role in Angel Heart. Like, it's not a huge role. Like, Angel Heart came out 1 year after Murphy's Law. But she has a small role playing a nurse, and her whole purpose is Mickey Rourke kind of puts on a persona to try and get information from her. And she's kind of there just to be a sexy nurse character. And she's pretty cute. Like I said, in Murphy's Law, she's a pretty cute woman, and it's a brief scene, but I just feel like mentioning it because I loved her in Murphy's Law, so I feel like mentioning her here. And, well, as for the flow of the story, as I said, it goes from a detective mystery thriller right into supernatural horror. This film has so much to it. It has smoking, coffee drinking, saxophone jazz, voodoo rituals, gory murders, and graphic sex that involves thrusting and bleeding ceilings and walls. I'm not going to say any more than that. Go see the movie yourself to see and find out how everything connects. And this film is so unique, like, it's not like From Dusk Till Dawn, but the way it combines the two different themes of the that you'd see usually in two different genres, I thought was pretty good. Like it feels like kind of suave. It feels suave in the '50s detective style, but then it genuinely feels like you're horrified because it's like not jump scare horror, but like skin crawl horror where you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this. And the soundtrack, the jazz saxophone soundtrack, is just increases the horror element of this movie so much. And the director of this film, Alan Parker, who also wrote it, he's directed some of the greatest movies of the past, I think I'd say 40 years. And until Angel Heart, I'd seen two of his movies, which I think are amazing films. The 1978 prison drama Midnight Express, which I haven't seen in a while, but I remember it was pretty effective and gripping. And Mississippi Burning, which I saw when I was 14 years old. I wasn't allowed to watch. Well, actually, now I think about it, I think I saw Mississippi Burning when I was somewhere between 12 and 14, and my mother, she was kind of strict on what kind of R-rated movies I could watch for the first few years I was a teenager. It could get a little bitchy, and I record Mississippi Burning off of TV, and Mississippi Burning is a powerful, disturbing movie about racism in the South in the 60s. And Angel Heart starts off in New York City in the winter, then shifts to New Orleans, where it's hot and boiling, and there's a lot of scenes involving that have the themes of Mickey Rourke, a white man going into black neighborhoods and places like Harlem, New York, where he witnesses voodoo ceremonies and religious stuff. And for the most part in Angel Heart, there isn't much racism. Like Mickey Rourke's character is not a racist, but when he goes to New Orleans, yeah, there are some pretty racist assholes characters, and you can tell Alan Parker, you could tell like he was ready to take on Mississippi Burning. But Alan Parker, from the movies I've seen, Alan Parker is a good director, and he makes his films intense and disturbing, but gives them a good flow and gets your emotions rising, whether it be anger, sad, or just being like, yeah. You just feel, yeah, after so many bad stuff. And, just as a little, side note, early in the film, when Harry Angel meets the guy hiring him, Louis Cyphre, he meets him at a church in Harlem, and before meeting him, he watches this black reverend preaching. This reverend is just unbelievably, you're like, whoa, when you see him. Like, he's preaching, going, hallelujah, hallelujah, and he says, if you believe in God, if you love God, open up your hearts, open your wallets, and give it to me so I can get a Rolls Royce. And the crowd just cheers him on, and it's a weird scene. You get the feeling it's one of those someone claiming they're like the Messiah and a bunch of idiots who don't know any better follow him. And I think the religious term, like in Christianity at least, would be false prophet. And and there's a funny scene where he kind of gets his, just like he's looking all high and mighty. He has long fingernails on the ends, like the cocaine fingernails, and he just gets humiliated. That's just a little aspect I thought of mentioning, just because it's funny and you're like, Jesus, Jesus. But yeah, and aside from the music, another great thing is, I would have to say, the cinematography. Like, the scenes are shot very well. The outdoor scenes are pretty cool, are pretty incredible, particularly the ones in New Orleans. Like, they just capture the sweaty heat wave of the area perfectly. And there's a scene where Mickey Rourke is in a diner, and he's smoked an entire pack of Camels, and he's deep in thought about something. He's deep in thought, and as he sits there with an ashtray full of cigarette butts, unfiltered Camel cigarettes, and a cup of coffee, he's there sitting silently, and the camera just zooms in on him ever so slowly, and it's a pretty effective shot. I think it's a great zoom shot that you just don't see that often, or you notice it and gives that effect. I thought it was pretty good. And I guess if I have one more fact, it's that Marlon Brando was considered for the role of Louis Cyphre before Robert De Niro took it. And that would have been interesting, because, everyone says Marlon Brando's the greatest. Everybody says Marlon Brando is the greatest, but I think he was a great actor. Definitely got fatter, but like Mickey Rourke in his face, that doesn't destroy the fact that he was one of the greatest. I don't know if Marlon Brando would have done the same as Robert De Niro. Like, Robert De Niro is a great method actor, and he brings so much mystery and chills to this character. Marlon Brando, I bet he could, but this is at a point where he was getting really big, and I don't know how effective he could have been if I don't know how effective the character could have been if he had been like a near 300-pound man. But watch the movie, and I think watch Angel Heart and decide for yourself if you think it's great. And I guess there's just one more thing I want to talk about. Spoilers, though, and if you have seen Angel Heart, listen. If you haven't, mute and then unmute when I hold this up again. For those who know the ending to Angel Heart, the big twist, and if anyone actually doesn't give a shit about spoiling and is watching, Robert De Niro is just... His performance as Louis Cyphre, I think, to me, is the greatest portrayal of the devil character I've ever seen in a movie. Just, like, the devil is a very interesting character to portray in movies. Like, the character is supposed to be the ultimate evil, but the key is to play the character in a way where most, maybe even the audience, will not see or believe, and then boom, you just show what a monster the character really is. Like Christopher Plummer said when asked why playing villains was better than heroes, he said, "The devil is by far more interesting than God." And he's right, because God, like the character, if you come down to the basics, like the devil is, like I said, meant to be evil and manipulative and putting on a persona where everyone can be fooled, and usually actors play the character as being subtle or unsuspecting. But Robert De Niro in the fucking film, there is no subtlety. I explained the way he looks. Yeah, there is no subtlety to the way De Niro plays Lucifer, and watching him, like, I think everybody says this, when an actor can make you forget that they are said person, like, and you actually believe they are the character they're playing, you know that they are an incredible fucking actor. And only a few have really done that to me, like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Aviator, and Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler. Many, and Robert De Niro in Angel Heart. There are many other actors, but Robert De Niro in Angel Heart, this is one of those performances where I don't see him as Robert De Niro, and people today probably, when they watch him in his movies today, they see him as just Robert De Niro doing his thing. But in Angel Heart, I don't see him as Robert De Niro. Like, he is just awesomely terrifying and just deadly. I don't see him as De Niro. I see him as the fucking devil. And that is the character by the end of the film, and up until that point, he just carries that cool persona where you know this guy is creepy, but you know that he carries the persona of a boss. Like, he only has 4 scenes, but in most of them, like in all of them except one, he's always sitting down, like a kind of like a boss would, where they sit down and they either look down or they look up to everybody, but they're not looking up to them. They're not looking up to them in a way of saying you're superior. They're just looking up at them like a boss at a desk would. Like, he just looks like someone who's in charge, like as if he is used to sitting on some kind of throne. And the only scene where he's not sitting down in a way, he stands up. And the other character doesn't get up. He just sits there and looks up at him, almost like someone beneath looking up at this powerful being. And the big twist scene where the whole truth is revealed is fantastic. Such as the way, like, when Harry Angel discovers who the person he's been looking for truly is, and Louis Cyphre says, "How terrible is wisdom when it brings no profit to the wise." And when Rourke is just refusing to believe it, because like throughout the film, I love this part. Throughout the film, when asked if he's religious or if he's an atheist, and he's an atheist, he goes, when asked if he's religious, he's like, "No, I'm from Brooklyn," and he just refuses to believe that this man is the devil. And De Niro just looks at him and says, "If I had cloven hooves and a pointed tail, would you be more convinced?" Yeah, he's just basically saying, quit lying to yourself. You know the truth. And I just thought it was one of Robert De Niro's best roles. It's not huge, but he just takes over the movie, makes it his own in those scenes. And Mickey Rourke, he is incredible. He is just right on in this role, but De Niro, he just creates one of the most memorable performances ever. And I gotta mention this, the egg scene. There's a scene where Angel and Louis Cyphre are in a restaurant talking, and De Niro holds up a boiled egg, and he bites into it. And the way he bites into it just goes... It almost looks like he's biting into your soul. Like, that's the best way to describe it. And it's a very chilling scene. And that just shows how effective Robert De Niro can be when he's really set his mind to it, into the part he's playing. And quick fact, during this scene he pours salt on the egg and he blows it off, and Mickey Rourke picks up a pinch of salt and just flicks it over his shoulder, and you think that's just the simple spill salt, throw your shoulder to avoid bad luck. But I read that it's actually one of a many, it's like a superstition that when you do that, it blinds the devil. Just very well thought out, very well done. Alan Parker, he wrote this and directed this film. He did an amazing job. And De Niro, Mickey Rourke, they are all incredible. Well, I've said pretty much everything I can about Angel Heart. I really love it. I think it's one of the best horror films from the 1980s, and it's not the traditional horror film, and it will disturb you, but it will scare you. Yes, I guarantee this film will scare somebody, and if not scare you, it will intrigue you. The story will pull you along, and it has some amazing acting performances. And I guess I have this to say. This film, I guess if I had anything else to say, it'd be this. This film is the next best satanic horror film since The Exorcist. This film is great, amazing, and there is one more thing I have to mention, and if this is all going to be spoilerish, so if you don't want to listen, just stop the video now and go look at something else. But I have to say this. I think, yeah, like I said, Robert De Niro gives probably the greatest performance as the devil in this movie. And there's this website called WatchMojo.com, and they have a YouTube channel where they make top 10 lists. That's their whole deal. They make top 10 lists of the greatest or the worst in certain movies and TV shows. And I used to watch a lot of their videos, but at this point I've realized their videos are fucking bullshit. They are... It's obvious when they do these videos they haven't done enough research to really understand it, and the delivery at times can be horrible or sound like whoever's narrating these videos is opinionated too much. Like, when I look up when I saw the videos at first, I thought they were just like factual videos, like from good opinions, but it's obvious whoever put these lists together are just not very good, and the list that convinced me that their videos were not reliable enough to look at was their top 10 movie devils list. For example, Robert De Niro is not on the list. Like, Robert De Niro's performance as Louis Cyphre is not on the list. Like, it's not given a number rating at least. And before they mention their number one movie devil, he's only briefly shown in the honorable mentions for those devils that are considered great but couldn't make the list. And I'm like, that is bullshit. He gave probably the most scariest performance and most non-traditional performance of the character, and I just thought that was bad. And also in that list, a lot of the devils they show just come off as pretty retarded and goofy. Okay, not all of them, but they didn't include Louis Cyphre from Angel Heart, but they included Gabriel Byrne's performance from End of Days, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I'm like, Gabriel Byrne's, like his performance, like, how the fuck could they put him on the top 10 movie devils list? I didn't buy him as the devil in that movie, and just, yeah, like, I just had to mention this because, and just for fun, I guess, because I really wanted to say that stuff. Just bullshit. De Niro from Angel Heart, Robert De Niro from Angel Heart, he is one of the greatest movie devils ever. Gabriel Byrne from End of Days is fucking not. But I guess if one good thing could be said about Watch Mojo, a lot of people watch WatchMojo.com videos, and I don't know why anybody would take him seriously, but I read that they had a top 10 internet critics list or something. I don't know, I don't really care about them, but I read that on their top 10 internet critics list, at number 2, they included my inspiration and for trying to start my own internet review show. They put the Nostalgia Critic, and knowing that a lot of people see Watch Mojo videos, I felt good just knowing that even though it's a shitty video site, the fact a lot of people watch it, so maybe they will get to finding out about the Nostalgia Critic and watch it. And the Nostalgia Critic, for those who don't know, is an internet web series, and unlike what I'm doing where I just talk as myself, like, I don't go by any script, just little notes that I have to bring up points I want to make. The Nostalgia Critic is a scripted series, kind of like the show Mystery Science Theater 3000, starring a man named Doug Walker, and it's a show about an internet critic who reviews kind of nostalgic material, but sometimes current material that has a connection, or just bad fucking films in general. And it is a great internet series. It is the main inspiration for me, and it's helped me through a lot of times where I felt bad, and I love it, and I recommend it, and I just brought that up. Wanted to bring this all up from Watch Mojo's incompetent list on the greatest movie devils to probably the only good thing I think they've ever done, and that is the only fucking compliment I'll give them. I say, so finally I say, go watch Angel Heart or not. I love it. I will have to say, I give it 9.7 out of 10. It is one of the horror greats. See you later.